I always link any of my healings to healing the earth as well, because the pain I was in is what the earth is going through at the moment too.
You are listening to Climate of Joy, the podcast where we talk about climate change and consciousness in light of what quantum science is telling us about reality and the dramatic opportunity for healing that the climate emergency offers. I'm Christine Penner-Polly, a self-described climate crone who is a Canadian mom of two, three if you count Jemmy, my little Frenchie Spaniel cross. I'm an author, a speaker, and an energy intuitive specializing in loosening the invisible knots that keep us stuck in unhealthy patterns at both the personal and collective level. This podcast is being recorded on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lekwungen peoples and the Esquimalt, Songhees, and Wasanich First Nations. Recognition and respect for these people's past, present, and future presence and caretaking of this land is essential to reconciliation. As a settler, I want to honor and thank the original peoples of this territory and also recognize that my presence here is the result of European colonization, which has had devastating impacts for the original people of this territory and right across Turtle Island.
So, good. Oh no, was gonna say good morning because it's morning for me, but it's well into the afternoon for my guest today, who is our return guest, Sandra Boatman. I was telling Sandra before we started recording that this is my sixth podcast and she's been on half of them. So welcome back, Ms. Boatman, energy healer, intuitive. How else do you want to introduce yourself again to our listeners?
Well, I want to stop personal unnecessary suffering so that we can heal the planet because of the interconnectedness of the planet and us. So many strands to that, but healing through consciousness and awareness, through whatever skills we want to learn. And thank you for having me back for half of your podcast. I'm sorry to take up so much of your time, but I'm very pleased to be back again to report in on how my progress went.
Because the last time we talked, the title of that podcast, which was episode 3, Finding Joy and Healing When Facing Death. So you had a medical, not diagnosis, but procedure that booked that was the thought of it sent you into a tailspin. So we discussed that. Why don't you tell our listeners? Here you are. I didn't have to contact you from the other side, so you made it through.
I did make it through.
So that's good.
Yes, I had my procedure done just over 2 weeks ago. Before it, I had 3 weeks of abject terror. And I think I said at the time when I was on the podcast last time, how totally unnecessary on one level that felt, because everyone kept saying, oh, you'll be fine, very dismissive, and it's just a day case. But there was something absolutely horrific about it, violating, and there was a deep refusal in me to accept the necessity for it and the enormity of what was going to happen to the inside of my heart, this double ablation I was having. It was coupled with, sadly, a great lack of information and care from our current NHS system, but that's just where we are at the moment in our country. So I set to on a path of doing any energy work I could on myself. And I explored in great depth every level of physical anatomy, gross physical anatomy. I explored so many different systems of my body that could be affected by this, even if I hadn't thought of them, obviously using my intuition and different systems I've learned. I went into the chakras, I went into my beliefs, I went into my subtle bodies, the aura. I used so many different tools and techniques, And I measured everything I did on a daily basis.
And when
And
you say that, so this is all at the energetic level, that even the anatomical work that you're talking about,
yes, totally.
you were looking at your anatomy, but from an energetic perspective.
From
And
an
of course,
energetic and a neuroscience level, an emotional level, limiting beliefs contained in that, ancestral work, past life work, all of these things. I didn't know what entanglements there were. And so I wrote myself a huge volume of recordings of what I'd done. And I have a measuring tool that I learned when I was doing my crystal healing work, which I use with my pendulum. And I was actually measuring the level of, say, my heart at the beginning of the session, and then measuring it after I'd done that work. By the end of the 3 weeks, I was quite amazed at the difference in A, how I was feeling, and B, the measurements that were coming up. And the kind of proof of the pudding, I suppose, was I was told I could be down in theatre for about 4.5 hours. And after 1.5 hours, I was out. And it was, I was told it was very simple, very successful. And a lot of the questions I was asking my energy work was, have I managed to get rid of any of the sites that are causing the fibrillation and the flutter in my heart? And I was working on those deeply, deeply again and again and again. And I was being told I had reduced them. And it feels, because of the report I got back, that I did indeed. I mean, it might be a load of toffee, mightn't it? But the report said it was very easy to do, very few sites to do, and hopefully 100% successful. So we'll have to see. There's a 3-month blanking period before I get the full results, but I'm feeling fine. But I do feel that, well, even if I didn't need to do that, and even if there's no belief in me from the medical, Western Orthodox medicine side, I felt so empowered by doing this work and so in awe of the results I was getting and how much better I was feeling for clearing ancestral links and the emotion. I was using the emotion code as well. And every single day, I spent a few hours on it every day, but I think it was so worth it.
Yeah. So, I mean, physically, the procedure went really well.
Yeah.
And emotionally, you were prepared for
Yeah,
it.
I was still feeling very abandoned by the fact that my questions weren't being answered. They didn't do any checks on me beforehand to see if I was still needing it. This was the trouble. I was feeling it was overkill. But I did the work anyway. I went down anyway. I had it done. And I feel that my work was very, very powerful. But they would always poo-poo it. I don't feel it needs to be poo-pooed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the paradigm that we're in right now, that 5 senses, the material reality is all there is. And that still is the prevailing worldview, even though it's shifting, because as we've talked about on this podcast before, the quantum world is continually moving energy, and turns out we all, the quantum reality is that we're all moving energy when you take a zoom down and microscope past the molecular level, the cellular level.
Absolutely.
Way right down. So as solid as the world looks and feels, in fact, we're all moving energy. So by doing this energetic work, it would seem, from our perspective, from the perspective of energy workers, that you're actually getting to the root of things.
Yes, that's how it felt. I dug down so deep. Each time I visited, I had another layer. I had another insight about where I could look. Having been a nurse before, I knew where to start. And I got into the gross anatomy of the heart. I got into the nervous system. I got into the lymphatic system. I got into the skeletal muscle system. I got into every which way, the electrical system. And it took me on such a journey of exploration. And then the energetic side of that as well. I mean, it just took me everywhere. Fascinating, empowering, and deeply healing. And it gave me hope that I could I could make a difference to myself going
Mhm.
through this. I would feel stronger against these feelings of being trundled along to something I didn't want, I was scared of, but there wasn't any. It was almost as if I was deliberately not being supported externally, and I had to find it for myself. And in the end, I felt very strong going in.
Okay.
Rightly or wrongly, I felt strong going in, and I was amazed that I came out as feeling as good as I had. I had a dance last night for my birthday. Everyone was saying, "We wouldn't expect you to see you here, and you look so well. Why are you looking so well? How are you?" And I had to kind of step back and think, I feel pretty good. I do get
So,
tired because of what they've done to my
yeah.
heart, but
So has it been 3 weeks?
2 weeks, two
Two,
weeks.
2 weeks, 3 weeks on Friday though,
That
right?
coming, it is Monday today, and it's 2.5 weeks. I had it
Right.
done
Okay.
Friday 2 weeks ago,
So,
and I went back to work a week afterwards.
wow. Wow.
No one told me I shouldn't, so I did.
Yeah.
They just said, "We don't know. You're a dancing teacher. We don't know what to do. You've had a double ablation. You've had both sides done. They punctured your heart. We don't know." So I went back to work.
Okay. And that has been going okay.
Well, I'm still here. Yes,
Still here.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so if any of the listeners are curious about the work that you did, I don't know if you're open to helping other people do this, if you want to give them resources, what direction can we point to our listeners who are interested in exploring their, health issues or physical body from that perspective?
Yes. Well, I am planning on launching a sort of course on this, and certainly giving some free work away on it, because I found it. I thought to myself, my gosh, how many people are in my boat and sinking, and maybe unnecessarily. I believe so dearly in self-empowerment through understanding how much greater we are than we think we are. And we suffer unnecessarily. This is what I said about releasing personal unnecessary suffering, pus, I call it. Um, that's not very nice, is it?
Lovely.
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 But it's we don't know. When we don't know who we truly are and what we're capable of, we suffer unnecessarily. And this is why, in a way, I think I went down into that hole, so that I could be that person and realize how important this work was. So I am in the throes of getting some a program together, but also some as I said, free resources, so that people can manage their own. Well, it was stress. It was deep distress and stress,
And
and
it
it's
was
not.
also, yeah, but you said you did ancestral stuff, you
Oh, I
did
did loads of stuff. Yeah, yeah,
energetic cords,
yep.
so there's stress on top of all of that other work. So it, I don't know, do you want to give your email? Do you want to
Yep.
give a
I mean, I'm
Facebook
happy
link?
to do that. I'm on Facebook. I know some people aren't, and you can message me directly at Sandra Boatman. I have a free group called the Ripple Effect. There are many people who call their groups the Ripple Effect, but mine has a picture of me on it.
I'll put
And
the link into
yeah,
the show notes.
yeah, and you can go and sort of like my profile page or whatever, but you will find things about dancing on there. That's not what we need.
Mhm.
The other way is to at the moment give me an email on sandrajjboatman@aol.com. I'm sure Christine will share that
Mm.
email address as well. But if you would entitle it healing or something like that.
Healing as the
Healing,
title,
yes, as a title.
and maybe climate of joy or podcast
Yes,
or
something
something
like
so
that.
that
Yes, so
we
that
can
I will
flag it
pick
for
it
you.
up, and so that would call my
Okay.
attention to it. And I am really very focused on helping people to not have to go through this. And I said in one of my posts on the ripple effect, I've been posting daily recently, that it can be in any area of your body, not just your heart. It can be in any area of your life. It's honing in on your own, always on your own emotions about things, and delving into those. We've got to be honest and be brave to do this, because it's not easy. It's not easy work, but it's worthwhile, and it benefits others as well, which is the ripple effect. It benefits you, it benefits the ancestors, it benefits everyone around you. And I link all of my work to the earth, because we are of the earth. We are connected to the earth. We can't help it. So I always link any of my healings to healing the earth as well, because the pain I was in is what the earth is going through at the moment too. And again, that might sound far-fetched, but that's my belief, and it can't do any harm to hold that intention of healing the planet.
That's what this podcast is about. So I really appreciate you coming back. And again, not from the other side.
Not from the other side this time, though.
Hale and relatively hearty, less than 3 weeks after your heart ablation. And it's really important work that you've been doing for yourself, and that you're going to be offering to others, and that others can be in touch with you about. And so thank you so much. Maybe when you launch your program, you can come back, so you can be on the fourth time, because we love Sandra on this podcast. So you are always welcome back. So I'm thrilled that you are looking and sounding and feeling so well.
Thank you. And thank you for having me back again. And I wish you all the very best with your Climate of Joy work. It's so important. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. If there's anything I've said that's inspired anyone to do any work for themselves and on behalf of the planet at the same time, it's all good. It can only ripple out goodness and inspire others, I feel too, which is what I want to be. I want to walk my talk, and that's important to me. It feels purposeful. So thank you for having me on again. It's lovely to be here.
All right. Till next time then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this show, please leave me a rating or review, or tag me on Instagram at cpennerpolly, or find me on Pinterest at 350 or bust. If you are ready for more peace in your life, even in the climate emergency, head over to theclimateofjoy.com to grab your free copy of Tap into Peace. And while you're there, sign up for my free online healing circles, which happen once a month. Till next time, be kind to each other. Remember, we are all just walking each other home.